Good morning, friends. Today we will begin the chapter topic number 6, interview techniques. What is an interview? An interview is a conversation between two or more people where questions are asked by the interviewer to elicit facts or statements from the interviewee. Interviewer asks questions and interviewee gives the answers. A job interview is a formal meeting in which one or more person questions, consult, or evaluate another person. Even interviews are a standard part of journalism and media reporting, but are also employed in many other situations, including qualitative research. Now, the next point is types of interview. First type is screening interview. This type of interview is generally conducted by larger companies when there is a large applicant pool and is typically first phase of selection. Screening interviews are used to ensure that the candidates meet minimum requirements and are often conducted by a computer or by an interviewer from the human resource department who is skilled at determining whether there is anything that might disqualify you from the position. Tips: highlight your qualifications and accomplishments using non technical language. The HR professional is not necessarily an expert in your field, and answer questions clearly and succinctly. Personality is not as important at this stage of the process. Next is telephone interview. Telephone interviews are often used to screen candidates in order to narrow the pool of applicants who will be invited for interview person to person and is a good way to minimize travel expenses. They can be challenging because you are not able to rely on non-verbal communication or body language. You should prepare this type of interview just as you would for a regular interview. So, if you are not given any warning and are not ready for an interview when called, politely request that the interviewer call back and at another mutually convenient time. This will allow you to refresh your memory on the organization and be prepared and be better prepared. Now, tips: have your resume, organization information, points that you want to highlight, and list of questions you may want to ask in front of you, and have a short list of your accomplishments prepared to discuss. Although you are not required to dress up, you may find that it is easier to get into the interview mindset and feel more confident when dressed professionally. Have a pen and paper to keep notes to write down any questions that come up. Keep a glass of water beside you to comfort yourself. Then one-on-one interview or face-to-face interview. The most common interview format is the one on one or face to face interview. This interview is traditionally conducted by a direct supervisor and, if often, the last step in a series of interviews. The interviewer may or may not be experienced in conducting interviews, and depending on personality and experience, the interview may be directive, following a clear agenda, or non directive, relying on you to lead the discussion as you answer open ended questions. Tips: You will likely be asked a variety of questions. So be familiar with all of the different types of questions that you can adjust your answers appropriately. It is important to be thoroughly prepared. Know the job and know yourself. Then panel interview. Next type is panel interview. A panel interview is conducted by two or more interviewers and is designed to reduce individual interviewer bias. It is very common for entrance into graduate and professional schools. One member of the panel may ask all of the questions, or individual panel member may take turns. Tips: make an eye contact with the person asking the questions, but also give every member on the panel your attention, regardless of if they ask any questions at all. Treat them with all equal importance. Be prepared to extend more energy in this setting, as you need to be alert and responding to more people. The next type is general group interview or information session. This approach is intended to save time and ensure applicants understand the basics of the job and organization by providing large amounts of information. This process is usually followed by an individual interview. Tip: to stand out in a group setting, a well timed and intelligent question may help the employer remember you positively. The next type is sequential or serial interview. A sequential interview is conducted by two or more interviewers separately or in sequence. The candidate either moves from one location to another or stays in one room and while different interviewers join them. Sequential interviews involve a number of first impression opportunities, so be aware of how you present yourself each time. At the end of the process, the interviewers meet to evaluate each applicant and make their decision. Tip: if you have difficulties remembering what you have already said to one person, don't be afraid to ask. So, in the next lecture, we will see tips to dress for positive impact. Till then, thank you.